Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Katharine Kelly. I'm the founder of the Soul of Healing Collaborative Group for Alignable. And I cannot tell you how much fun I've been having these conversations and meeting people and getting to know what they do. And as you know, the reason I'm creating these videos and doing these interviews is to help practitioners of different modalities, different parts of the therapeutic world basically get to know each other just through education and casual conversation so that if you do have an interest in contacting one of the folks on this group, you'll know who they are. Or if also it's helpful for you to understand what they do just because you hear it and maybe you've never heard about what they do, but it's just there's information is power, as they say. So it's just getting to know one another and spreading some information about what else is available in the world. So today I have Katharine Donovan Kane, and I'm very excited about the work she does. And we were just talking a little bit about the soul and how the inner work is so important to healing process. But again, in traditional healing, a lot of times it's not even discussed. So I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute. We talked about before we started recording here, we talked about the inner world of people and also the fact that she does dream work. That's all over her website. And she will give that information at the end so that if you want to look at her website, you'll know where to go. But Katharine, number one, welcome.
Thank
I'm
you.
really excited to have this conversation with you. And I know we're going to have lots to talk about. So I will try to keep on task and let you kind of go with it. But tell us a little bit about what you do, what your passions are. I always ask people, when I'm meeting them for the first time, what is it that you love to do? Because that really tells you a lot about a person. So I'll let you kind of jump in.
Well, first of all, thank you, Catherine. So we're a little Catherine club
I
here, right?
noticed that. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. And I watched your video and the other one that you've loaded up on the site so far. Very informative, and I appreciate and am honored to be here with you. So the
Absolutely.
work the work that I do is I'm basically a deep listener. So the work that I do, and it says on my website, inner wisdom, wayfinding, and dream work. So my expertise is in dream work. Um, what I do is I work with people on an individual basis who prefer to work that way, but I also host dream circles. And not everyone has experienced those or know what they are. Um, but in all, in an individual or group basis, helping people reimagine an inspired life. So they come to me when something in their life has triggered a change. And certainly in the last 4 years, that has
Oh,
been
gosh.
the pandemic has triggered a lot in people. And so traditionally, people, and especially I work with mostly women, but not all, maybe in our 40s and 50s, things are triggering the loss of job, a loss of spouse, divorce, life changes of one kind or another. Spirals them into overwhelm and a need to talk with someone. But I think in the last 4 years, that has trended a lot younger.
Sure.
So my work is as a coach, a spiritual life coach, basically, is what I do. So the dream work that I specialize in is non-therapeutic, and that's on purpose. I'm glad I'm not a therapist. My background has been very strongly spirituality in one form or another, either learning about that formally in school and or life experiences. As I now in my 70s, I can now say that I am a crone, and I am one of those people that others seek out.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as sitting at the kitchen table, right? In my case, it's on Zoom because nearly every single person I work with is in a different time zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful to Zoom and
Sure.
or time or any of those digital technologies that allow me to speak with someone or a group of someone's. So recognizing their inner power and being okay with that. So what happens is I am a HSP. So a lot of you know what that is, a highly sensitive person.
Mhm.
And I also self-identify as an empath.
Mhm.
Now, that wasn't really when I first started doing this work, something that I advertised or felt a need to. But interestingly, I would say just about 99% of the people who come to me identify as one of those or both.
Mhm.
So, who we are as people, we're really sensitive to a lot of things. Overwhelm is our middle name. And I've had people come to me and choked up and in tears and say, I know that I'm a highly sensitive person. I just am coming to you hoping that you'll help me get rid of it. So
Right.
I get it. I understand where that's coming from, but the answer is no.
Mhm.
I'm not going to, nor should you, because it's a gift.
It's part of you. Yeah.
And it's a part of us, but it's also a gift, and it's a gift to the world. So what would it be like? What would the world be like if the kind of intuitive knowledge that people in this area, this side of the spectrum, right, that don't identify as real, maybe extroverts or type A people, or the way in which the world operates actually
Right.
on the
Right.
whole.
Right.
And but what if we had a seat at the table and we're able to really help people understand what I feel? I feel vibrations of the earth. I feel intuitively where the anger or the whatever is coming in the room. Whatever I feel this or that. What if we were really attuned to that and it was valued?
Mhm.
What would happen to the earth?
Yeah.
So really, ultimately, what I'm doing is, in my own mind, one person at a time, helping heal the earth of what is, as we all know, was really stressful time now.
Right.
Global.
Absolutely. And we
Yeah.
can't have enough practitioners that are doing the work to help the collective at this point.
Right. Right. Right.
So
So
I'm wondering if you could actually
yeah.
walk us through an example of how you might work with someone individually, and then how
Okay.
a dream circle might work, just so, other people understand what that might mean.
So when someone approaches me individually, we always talk for, always complimentary for about 20 minutes or 30. And am I the right person for you? And sometimes I'm asked, how do I know if I need a therapist or
Great.
someone like yourself? So there's a lot of that conversation. I am a big proponent of all arms of the system. And if someone is working with a real deep problem, or there's an obvious trauma that's coming forward, or I can tell, I will and I keep a list of people that, and so this what you're doing is beautiful because I can really understand what other people do. And so when I get to the point of, it would be very helpful if you talked about that particular thing with a skilled practitioner that is skilled and knowledgeable about that kind of trauma.
Yes.
Whereas there's a lot of people that are in this transition and life change that they simply need someone to talk with them. I mean, tears come to their eyes occasionally during these calls because they've said, you know what, I just really wanted someone to listen to my story.
Mhm.
And that's what you do.
Mhm.
So we get past that, you know, they decide who the right person is. There's a lot of different types of coaches and obviously in the field. And I'm very clear about who I am and what I'm doing and encourage people to look at my website. I think that that's
Mhm.
spells out a little bit more clearly what I do. And so I give people a pre not only an agreement, but a a survey, about 5 or 6 questions to answer. And gives me some background about, and if they're in therapy, just let me know. That's great. I work with people all the time that are in therapy, but also need someone that is going to talk about their spiritual dimension, that soul part of
Mhm.
what's happening. Um, and then of course doing that survey of questions ahead of time doesn't waste their money really and time in that 1 hour session that we have, because we have to go through that, right? So I give
Right.
people the opportunity and it gives me background. So when we get together, I you know, we do breathing, we get really centered in our bodies. Again, this is all online. um, I usually read poetry, and
Mhm.
that's on purpose to get them out of the rational into the imaginal and sort of really deep inside themselves. And if the person, and they often do have, you know, things that they're bringing with them to the session, they may tell me, email me ahead of time what that is. Some people have a really hard time getting started, and that's the beauty of that pre-work
Mhm.
form. So I have gone through and I'll pull out different phraseologies that they use. And let's talk more about that.
Nice.
So everyone is uniquely different. And they begin with whatever their goals are. And so maybe they'll do 3 sessions, 6 sessions. Again, highly sensitive people worry a lot that
Mhm.
what if I made the wrong decision? So it I'm very flexible about how often we meet, or just do 3 sessions, but not less than that,
Mhm.
because there's I'm unless we've worked before and they need to touch base here and there, that's different. But
Well, and the inner space is vast.
yes, yes, that's right.
So,
Um, Well, there was one person that signed up for 6 sessions. It wasn't until the 5th session that she had this massive aha moment. And it was why? Because it took that long to share stories and whatever we were working on, and for me to keep mirroring back,
mhm.
and for her to go, I said, well, wait a minute, let me just repeat that. And she was shocked. So that's what I'm saying. And I think that's typical of anyone in the work that we do, that it isn't a very quick fix.
Mhm. Well,
So
and
that's, yeah.
I'll throw a little anecdotal statement in. I tell clients, people will ask me, oh, how many sessions do I need if I'm doing psychotherapy or if I'm doing soul coaching or soul healing work? And
Yeah.
I basically say, I have no idea how to answer that question. And then I always say, basically evolution never happens as fast as we'd like it to,
Yeah.
and it never happens in a straight line.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I don't like to put a number on how many. I don't predict anything, because evolution is an organic process. And yeah, you can have some guidance, but really your psyche and your soul are going to bring to the surface what it is that you're ready to deal with.
Yeah.
And nobody can identify how fast that's going to happen.
Right. Right.
What about the dream circles? What would be different with the dream circle?
You know what? When I first started doing this work, I thought the dream circles were my least, not least favorite, but the I would be doing that the least. It's this one-on-one. I
Mm,
love talking with people. I love stories, etc.
yeah.
And so aha moment for myself in putting these dream circles together. Oh my gosh, there's such magic and such
Power. Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
So in my circles, the groups are 5 to 7-ish. If you hit 8, that's beginning to feel like a lot.
Hmm.
And but if initially 6 or 7 sign up, that's always good because maybe one or two can't show up. So you have this small circle, and again, almost always women, not 100%, but almost always women, and from all parts of the world, all walks of life. And this idea of sharing a dream. And what I do, and not everyone does it the same way, but this is the way I feel really comfortable, is that each session will just do one dream. So I'm not, you know, okay, 45 minutes later, let's whip through and then do another. Because why? Why it gives us a chance again to do that deep breathing. We check in with each other. What energy are you bringing? And because of my spirituality background, I'll ask them, what soul companions are with you right now?
So
And
let me
that
ask you
really
this.
gets everyone.
Yeah, and let me ask you this to help clarify as people are understanding this, because again, I know a little bit more about dream work, but others might not. I'm going to ask two questions. One
Yes,
is, when you say we'll work with one dream at a time, do you
yes,
have people bring in their own dream? Do you?
yes.
Because I think that would help people understand what that means to do the dream work.
Yes, thank you. So yes, one in the circle, the dreamers bring a dream.
Okay.
So a lot of times, what will happen is someone will tell me ahead of time. Because I ask by the reminder email the day before, and someone would say, "Okay, I have a dream." They basically raise their hand. I keep track, and so who hasn't done a dream, and so encouraging them. And there's a way in which I encourage them, especially those who say that I absolutely can't remember my dreams. But yeah, so it's always someone from the group. Rarely, but occasionally we'll meet and no one has a dream.
Mhm.
And so what I'll do is I'm ready on the other side of that possibility of doing Dream Divina or Visio Divina
Mhm.
or poetry. So I'll use poetry as a dream. So as you know, all of the imaginal figures in poetry, and it takes us to that realm that the
Mhm.
poet has achieved in order to give us whatever is coming forward in that poem.
And so tell us how, if one person, again, since I've done some of this work and I understand different
Mhm.
aspects, but
Yeah.
help the listeners or the viewers really understand how everybody else in the group benefits from one person bringing up their dream, because I think people would really benefit from knowing that.
That's a great question, because initially when you first are in a dream circle, you think that you're just listening, and that's not true.
Mhm.
So what happens is that I take the dreamer through a process of 3 times. They are um, telling us their dream 3 times. And the first time, everyone is listening to the dream. And how is that making your body feel? What is stepping forward for you? And remember, you're beginning to take on this dream as your own.
Mhm.
So because of the work I do, I'm reminding them how dreams are very much like myths. And those are inspiring stories from our predecessors that are bringing forth the truth. So what if you thought of this dream that so and so is gifting us with today as listening to a myth, like you're reading a myth, like you're
Mhm.
reading a poem, and you're looking for what it means, what's stepping forward for you. That's what we're going to do.
Mhm.
And so there's just a deep listening. As much as we can, I'm helping them focus on their body. After we hear that, how does your body feel? And where is it? so every single person, not just the dreamer. The dreamer is giving us the dream. They're bringing it forward, but it's becoming our dream, the circle's dream. So the second time we go through it, I will seed the group with certain questions. Well, it'd be a good idea. Today, let's practice focusing on the landscape. What's happening in the landscape? Is there something in the background that is not obvious? It's got a lot of figures, a lot of animals, or a lot of whatever is happening, but what's in the background that's just standing there waiting to be noticed? So again, we go through the dream. The dreamer is more than likely reading it, but not always. And now we have a chance to use our brain. Okay, let me ask you all the clarifying questions. Now, no one's interpreting. You don't interpret. Only the dreamer knows how to interpret their own dream. So that's not what we're here for. So I keep track of how the questions are being asked. Because we can't help ourselves as humans. We always want a quick hurry up in our modern society to quick look for meaning, grab the interpretation. And what we're doing is jumping too far, too fast. And we're not allowing the dream to bring us the message. So, okay, but we need to use our brains, right? So that's fine. Ask those clarifying questions, stay within the context of the dream, not how did you, dreamer, feel yesterday when you had, no, what did the dreamer bring? And even the dreamer sometimes, when they tell us the dream, begins to interpret the dream.
Right.
So I have to stop them and say, okay,
back them up.
Yeah, you'll have a chance to tell us and reflect on your dream after we're done, but we don't want to know really right now what you think of your dream. We're taking it on ourselves. So we do that. And there's this process of back and forth. And so for the third telling, I asked them to, and everyone really, just to relax, go back into that breathing, soften your eyes, everyone, including the dreamer, close your eyes, and now look at the periphery. So you're standing you said at the beginning of your dream, you were standing in front of your house or something like that. So stand there, but take a deep breath as a dreamer, look around. So what's happening up? Sky, what's happening below, what clothes are you wearing, so that we go through this whole sort of 2-minute thing. And then I say, with your expanded vision, tell us the dream, don't read it. Tell us from memory. And so, as you know, probably from the work that you do, all of a sudden there's this, they're seeing colors,
it's interpreted differently per person.
Oh my gosh, there's this real expanded view of the dream that they had written down, and they thought that was it. That was their dream. So now I asked them, the dreamer, to turn off the video of their camera. And again, it's because human nature being what it is, as we, the rest of us in the circle, are projecting what we think this has meant for us, we're not looking at the dreamer in a sense, asking for their recognition, or they're okay, or they're not, or whatever else acknowledgement we're looking for. So, but I'll say to the dreamer, but you're a part of the circle. This is your opportunity now to listen and do the talking, but now you get to deep listen and write notes or whatever you want to do, but stay with us in the circle.
So if you were, and I love this because I think you just did a beautiful job of showing what the process is. And so people can, people who are watching can really get a feel for, oh, okay, this is what to expect. And I know this is going to be it could be a very tough question to answer in 1 or 2 sentences. How would you answer, okay, so if you were to say, what is the actual process and maybe not the process, what is the purpose? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
Mm.
What is it that you're trying to bring forth for a person so that if someone new to dream work would be able to explain it to someone else, this is what you could say.
Dream work, and especially in dream circles, should be about making the unknown known, right? So we don't dream about things that we already know. We're dreaming about things that we don't know yet.
Mhm.
So that, people have all kinds of thoughts and opinions about what dreams are. So initially, a lot of times we're clearing that up, or I will say one or two words at the very beginning of the dream circle about what we're focusing on. But I said it before too, thinking of the dream as a myth. Some myths are interweaved into that story is a truth that's
Mhm.
trying to come forward. And isn't it funny that in myths, we're very okay with the landscape can be the Wizard of Oz, it could be the Land of Oz, it could be half
Mhm.
human, half animal, and we're like, oh yeah, well, that's a myth. But in dreamscape, we say, oh, but my dreams are weird. My dreams aren't, there isn't really a story. So we're trained to not think
And dismiss it.
as our dreams are very important.
Mhm.
So you ask for one or two sentences, that's not one or two
Right,
sentences,
it's hard.
but it's basically dream work is like a myth. It's bringing something forward. It's recognizing in the landscape of the dream what is there that's trying to come forward and emerge with the truth.
Yeah, and so again, if I were to think about a way from a psychological perspective, there are psychodrama groups that,
Oh
they're
yeah.
still held, but they must used to be much, much more popular, where, the group would actually play out the drama of a family or a situation, and they would choose roles, that really roles to play that signified, people in that image. But what
Yeah.
would happen is it wasn't about, just that person who brought up the story. It was really generating organically stuff that would
Yeah.
come up and be very important to interpret for that particular person.
Right.
So it's a very different approach.
Mm-hmm.
But what's beautiful about what you're saying is that, again, it doesn't have to be a psychotherapy perspective. It's really, okay, how do you bring that inner wisdom to the surface, or
Mm-hmm.
that information that needs to be brought to the surface so that particular individual can connect dots, or can,
Mm-hmm.
really advance something that might have been blocked before. Would you say
And
that that's true?
yeah, and dream work isn't the only way. So in other words, it's not just the nighttime scenario where we can get messages from the psyche. It could be waking visions. It could
Right.
be so-called daydreams. It
Mhm.
could be a vision or something that comes up when you do your meditative practice, whatever that is. So
Right.
there's a lot of us who have those messages that come forward intuitively in whatever way. And we need some place to be able to allow that, a safe
Mhm.
place to allow that to come up, and then really take a deep look at that.
Mhm.
So the body always talks to us, right? The
Yes.
body is always dreaming, the body is always telling us something. Certainly our global society is overusing our brains, but we're very good at that, the
Mhm.
rational thinking. So not that that's a bad thing, but to balance it out with what these other energies, these other parts of life that are helping us, and it's inner wisdom. It's that awareness of who I am, but then self acceptance, and then
Mhm.
saying, oh my gosh, that is okay. That's okay. I'm okay. The way I think is okay. The fact that I'm an HSP and I get overwhelmed, that's all right.
Mhm.
What is it telling me? How am I helping myself, but also ultimately other people around me
Right.
to so this is what I do.
Well, and Catherine, I think it's beautiful. And again, you did a very good job of kind of summarizing what to expect. Um, and I'll throw this in, those of you who follow this group know that I do soul work, and really what you're describing is soul work. It's
Yeah,
just soul work. The inner
yeah,
wisdom is coming from that part of us that, like you said, many of us, I have this concept of the three levels of healing that, yeah, we have to understand things intellectually.
yeah,
We have to work through the emotions of things and identify them. But really, the biggest part of our healing process is from that soul. But if we never stop to listen or never
yeah,
stop to bring some of that information or that wisdom to the surface, we're going to either stay stuck, or our healing or our evolution or even just getting through the human condition is going to feel slower.
right.
So,
Yes.
really, it's just another method of doing soul healing, which is really
Yeah.
beautiful to be able to offer it. And the beauty of, again, Zoom is, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people weren't like loving Zoom. And now all of a sudden, it has
Yeah,
literally opened up the world. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's beautiful that you can do this with people around the world.
yeah.
So I want to invite you to share how people can contact you, whether it's your
Okay.
website, whether it's your phone number, however you want to share that information.
Yeah, if you go on my website, which is kdkane.com, so K for Catherine, D for Donovan, and my last name Kane, KANE.com. You can sign up for my YouTube channel, my complimentary newsletter, and what I'll do is, and then coming up in April, actually, that occasionally what I'll do is free sessions of people just drop in and see for an hour. Usually, it takes about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes to get through a session of dream work. But this one is a shortened version, an hour, and it gives them a sense of what they would experience in a circle. So,
And Catherine, I love that because, and there are other practitioners on Alignable who have contacted me that we've done some trades just so we could figure out what each other does. And
yeah,
it is really helpful. And so being willing to offer that, to whoever is viewing this video is going to be very helpful. And I want to say this. I know that I had told Catherine that, she can post this anywhere. She can use this for whatever. I'm going to be posting it, of course, on Alignable, but then also on my YouTube page so people can just go to it. But if I wanted to say this, even if you wanted, you can also upload this to your own YouTube page if that
yeah,
would be helpful, because if people are already viewing your, document, I mean, however you want to do that.
definitely.
But
I would love to.
I'm a big believer in the more the merrier in terms of
Yes.
really spreading the word about how to integrate traditional methods with holistic methods, because I just, what's fascinating to me, and I love this, is that, millions of people are using holistic methods, whether or not their traditional practitioners know it.
Mhm.
And this is just one of my missions, to help people realize that it doesn't have to be so separate.
Right.
So, as traditionally trained practitioners understand what you're doing, hopefully, physicians, nurses, whomever might say, hey, I think you might really benefit from what Catherine's doing. So
Yeah.
I love what you've described, and I'm excited to know that you're out there. And I'm
Well,
sure that
thank
you and I
you.
would have wonderful, long conversations.
Long conversation. Well, thank you again, Catherine.
Yeah.
This has been so
Oh,
much fun. Thank you so much.
well, it's a joy. Thank you. And I'm sure that you know, there's possibilities to come back. I'm even thinking about doing some panel discussions. I think
Oh,
that would be
good.
really fun to have 5 or 6 practitioners from different aspects. So I think this will be very fun. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate
And
it.
Alignable folks and everybody else, thank you very much for listening. I hope you come back. We are going to be, I'm going to be doing many, many more of these interviews, and it's just a lot of fun to be able to provide information out to the world. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
Bye
Bye.
now.